welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I want to talk about my BMW 330, specifically the B46 motor that's inside, and just really give you guys my thoughts and impressions on it. Is it really as slow as people say it is online? So ever since buying this 2017 BMW 330, which by the way, guys, if you didn't know already, has the B46/B48 motor in it, a lot of people have been telling me that, I'm going to regret it, that the car is slow, that it's super sluggish. So in today's video, I want to talk about that. Is that actually true? Give you guys my impressions of it. Now, this isn't going to be a super detailed or professional review. It's just really going to be me driving the car. I've owned it for about like 6 weeks now. A lot of people knock on these cars a lot. A lot of people make fun of four-cylinder BMWs. Personally, just right off the bat, I think four-cylinder BMWs are underrated. I'm not saying if you want a performance car, get the four-cylinder, but I think they're great daily drivers. They're good on gas, and they're actually pretty quick. So before I really start talking about this car and how it performs, I think it's fair for me to mention that I do have a few minor mods on this car so far. I have a BMS cold air intake, and I also have a Keys Motorsports charge pipe over here. Now, both of these mods really aren't going to affect performance too much. So the car pretty much still drives like a stock car. It does sound a little better because of the air intake, and it's also a little safer with the Keys Motorsports aluminum charge pipe. So that's kind of a good segue into why I'm doing this video now, and that's because, guys, although the car is pretty much stock, I do have a stage 1 tune waiting to be installed on this car. So I figured before I tune it, I might as well give you guys my thoughts and impressions while the car is still stock. Of course, later when I go to stage 1, I will do another video about that. But for now, let's just focus on the car when it's relatively stock. Also, by the way, I should mention, as you guys can see here, I have my 2015 BMW 435 next to it. This car has the N55. So although I will be talking about this four-cylinder BMW, just know, guys, I do have a few other six-cylinder BMWs like this 435. I also have a 2018 X3 M40, which has the B58. So when talking about this car, I'm going to relate it and compare it against the N55 and the B58. They are also pretty popular engines that you guys are probably considering, as well as the B46. So maybe you guys are thinking about getting a 335, 435, 340, 440, whatever it is. The B46 is the cheaper alternative, but maybe you guys want to know what it feels like compared to those other cars. Anyways, with all that out of the way, let's actually start driving this car, and I'll tell you guys what I think about it. So I'm going to turn it on. So similar to the 435 video, I'll put the car into sport mode, put the transmission into sport as well. Again, obviously the car's not up to temperature yet, but we will drive around for a little bit, let it get warmer. It is a very warm day today. It's actually like 70 degrees. And then when it's up to temp, we'll start pushing it a little bit. Anyways, I want to talk to you guys quickly about a few things with this car. So while it warms up, first thing is, who's this car really for? And just in general, the four-cylinder, because obviously, guys, the B46 comes in multiple cars. So you can get it in the 330, you can get it in the 430, you can also get it in the 230. So like I mentioned before, this is the cheaper version of these cars, because you can get the B58 or the N55, the six-cylinder, which does cost more. But when I say this, I don't mean it in a bad way. Not everyone can afford the six-cylinder. Even for me, even though this is my daily driver and I have a few other cars, I couldn't afford the six-cylinder for my daily driver. I had to get the four-cylinder. There's nothing wrong with that. I hate how people knock on people getting the four-cylinder. There's just cheaper cars out there, and that's fine. If you want to get a cheaper car, if you don't want to spend as much money on a car, that's totally fine. I should clarify, when I say this is a cheap car, I mean in relation to some of the other BMWs out there. This is overall an amazing car, especially for the money. If you guys are gonna buy it used. The interior is very practical yet luxurious inside here. The suspension feels very soft yet sporty at the same time. It's not the sportiest suspension from BMW that I've driven, but it does feel really good. And overall, it is a great daily driver. It's a very, very practical car. It's reliable. But that's not what I'm talking about in this video, guys. What I'm talking about is this car quick? So you do get about 250 horsepower. That is a good amount, guys. BMW rates this car 0 to 60 in about 5.6 seconds, which is good time, especially if you compare it to something like a Honda Civic Si, which of course is also a four-cylinder, and that car does 0 to 60 in about 6.1, 6.2 seconds. So this car, even though it is a four-cylinder BMW, is still faster than a lot of other sporty-ish four-cylinders out there. Doesn't mean it's the fastest, because obviously there's definitely faster four-cylinders out there. But again, I don't think BMW designed this car to be a sports car or a fast car in that sense. It's still a daily driver. It does that job very well, but it's still pretty quick at the same time. If you really want to go crazy and go fast with your BMW, think about getting a B58. Of course, it is more, but if that's really the route that you want to go, that's probably the route that's best for you. But if you guys want to do what I did, get a daily driver that's also fun to drive, I think this car is perfect. It gets amazing gas mileage. I've actually gotten upwards of 36 miles per gallon, and it's also fun. This car is a 4-cylinder with about 250 horsepower, but honestly, just like with other BMWs, I'm pretty sure they underrated this thing. Obviously, I'm no professional, but this thing definitely feels quick. All right, so I made sure I turned off the AC. Let's do a quick pull on the highway and see how it feels. Type R. I think that dude with the Type R must have seen me filming him, because as soon as I passed him, he started like gunning it between lanes. To the point of this car, guys, this is not a car that I would race with. If I had the 435, I would destroy him though. Just kidding, I don't race. Yeah, anyways, this car definitely feels quick. It's not gonna knock your socks off. Again, I think it's a daily driver first. If it's a BMW that you can afford, nothing wrong with that. Honestly, guys, like there's nothing wrong with that. If this is your first car, if it's your way getting into BMWs, if it's your second or third car, or if it's the only car that you have, it's gonna be a great daily driver, and it's also pretty quick. This car definitely feels torquey. Once you have the transmission into sport and the car into sport, the car definitely jumps. Like, it gets up and goes. By the way, guys, in no way am I trying to say that this engine is better than the B48 or the N55, because like I said before, I have both of those. And those engines, I'm not gonna lie, they definitely feel faster. They definitely feel more fun to drive. The N55, in my opinion, sounds amazing. This car actually does sound good. I'll throw up some sound clips right now so you guys can hear it, because once we go stage 1, I will also be tuning the burbles. Overall sounds pretty good, but the N55 just sounds way better. But this thing, it also sounds really good. Something else that's really cool about this car, even though it is a base 330 with the B46, it actually still has launch control. Now, I don't know if that's because that this is a sport line, because I don't think every 330 has like the sport transmission and stuff like that. I think you can still code it in using Beamer code if you guys want, but this one actually came with it. Similar to everything else though, launch control really isn't gonna knock your socks off. It's nice, but it's not like that launch control that really puts you back in your seat. Like the first time I drove the 435 with the N55, like I remember doing launch control in that car, and like I felt the G-forces and being pushed back in my seat. This car, you really don't get that as much. But like I keep on saying, guys, this car is not made to be the fastest BMW out there. So if you guys really do want the fastest possible, definitely look into the B58 and the N55. The N55 you can actually get for a really good price now. But with that said, guys, let me just do one last pull and show you guys what it feels like. So I don't know if you guys felt that. I definitely felt it. This car is quick, but it's not dramatic. Like, if you guys watched my recent video with the 435 on stage 1, that pull on the same road felt dramatic. It felt exciting. This one felt good, and I don't know if maybe I'm numbed by like the 435 and the XVM40, those cars being much faster. But overall, it just wasn't dramatic. It wasn't too thrilling, I guess you can say. Hopefully I'm making sense here, guys. Again, similar to the last video, I'm sorry I couldn't show you the speeds. Hopefully you can understand. It's for obvious reasons, I think. So yeah, this is really my daily driver. Now, I usually don't drive the car like this. I kind of did this for me as well as you guys, because like I said before, I am going stage 1 on this car. So I wanted to really take in what it feels like on a stock tune. And honestly, guys, I think once I go stage 1 on this car, I think it's going to remind me a lot of the 435 when it was stock, because obviously this car is stage 1 right now. But I think this car in stage 1 is going to be comparable to like a 435, the N55, completely stock. That's just an assumption, but I can't wait to tune this car to actually see if that assumption is true, because if it is, that's pretty impressive for a 4-cylinder. So to kind of wrap this up with my final thoughts, is the BMW B46 a slow engine? Should you guys get it? And just overall, what do I think of it? Honestly, I do not think it's slow. It's definitely a quick car, especially when you compare it to something like a Civic Si or like a BRZ, something like that. It is still a very capable 4-cylinder. So I think you guys should get it. If this is the car in your budget, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. If you guys can afford more, look into the N55, like a 335, because the 335s are honestly a better deal than like a 340. If you guys can afford the 340, definitely go for it. By no means am I saying the B46 is a better engine. I think it's just very underestimated and underrated. You can do a lot with these cars. I've looked up what people have gotten on like stage 2 tunes, and people get upwards of like 300 wheel horsepower, which is pretty wild. That's what I'm gonna try to do. So if you guys want to see that, definitely hit that subscribe button. But overall, guys, the B46 is an amazing engine, especially for the money. But with that said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to drop me a like, drop me a comment, let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.